Mr. Watson here, and in this video I'm going to apply the training principles to a long distance runner. Okay, so pre-evaluation test. So the long distance runner, the first thing I'm going to do is ask them to do the multi-stage fitness test, otherwise known as bleep beep, and this is to gain an understanding of where their current aerobic capacity is. So if you're not familiar with the multi-stage fitness test, it's carried out over a distance of 20 meters. The levels start at a slow pace, and once the levels are completed, the pace will increase. Commonly used in lots of sports to gain a measure of aerobic capacity because it's fairly simple. So as I said, it's to gain a baseline measure of aerobic capacity, and the level they achieve, I can evaluate that against normative data for their age. Once I've done this, I can go about designing their training program. So, first of all, I'm going to look at initially 3 sessions a week at a 70% of a maximum heart rate, progressing to 4 sessions a week at 80% of maximum heart rate with equal work to relief time. So that's how I'm initially going to set out the training. Now, it's a typical training session, as we know. You need to have a warm-up with some pulse-raising activities and some mobility exercises. Now, my main session, I'm going to look to apply the principle of variance. Now, with long distance running, it's usually done through continuous training, as this specifically develops aerobic capacity, which is key for my long distance runner. However, continuous training can bring boredom. So I'm going to try and apply variance and include some road work, track work, and some treadmill running. So just a simple ways to try to prevent boredom for the long distance runner that I'm training. Also key, I'm going to look to be specific, and although I'm taking them up to that 80% maximum heart rate, I do not want to go any higher than that so they're not working anaerobically. I want to keep them working aerobically with the slow oxidative muscle fibers. And finally, they'll do a cool down, which will involve pulse lowering exercises, gradually taking the body back to its pre-exercise state, and some static stretching. Now, I'm also in the design training program going to repeat the multi-stage fitness test midway through the program to see if I need to adjust that training program in case we have not achieved any adaptations, or quite simply if we've declined, and if that's the case, they might be training too hard and their body is constantly in a fatigue state and not getting enough time to recover. I'll also do a post test to see if we've achieved the SMART goal of what we set out to. Now, during the training program, it's important I observe the long distance runner for overuse injuries, and again that could be seen from a mid-test, but it's just important to keep observing that so they're not picking up any niggles around the ankles or knees, so that they can train to their full capacity and become more efficient. And finally, if we've set the goal of a race which is in 3 weeks' time, after that race is complete, it's important to maintain the training calendar so that we have a baseline fitness ready to increase our overload again for a future race. So very important to do that to prevent reversibility. Okay, so that's just an example of how some of the principles can be applied to a long distance runner.